Hi, welcome to session 1 of a series that we had Joel Pukalo go through on connection-based wellness. In this session, he's going to be talking about the experiential pillar of wellness, and he's going to be talking about 3 concepts: recharging, connecting, and stress management. So stay tuned because you're not going to want to miss this as he leads you through moving towards wellness in this area in your life. If you haven't checked out the introduction video to this series, you're going to want to make sure you go check that out before continuing on with this video or future videos of this series. The introduction is really going to help you in setting a base up for the topic that Joel's going to be discussing in this next session.
Hey everyone, I'm Joel, and welcome back to our series on connection-based wellness. Throughout our time together, we'll be covering the 7 pillars of wellness, as you can see, ranging from experiential, mental, physical, spiritual, emotional, relational, and personal. Today, we're going to be diving into the pillar of experiential wellness. What is experiential wellness, you may ask? I feel like it's best encompassed in a song I was listening to recently from Dierks Bentley. It goes like this: it's living. And he says something along the lines of, every day we're breathing, every day we're living, every day is a little bit different. Sometimes we're just existing, sometimes we're just getting by, but it's about finding ways in our everyday life to kind of feel alive, connected to ourselves, and connected to other people around us. So in this dimension of experiential living, there's kind of 3 main areas we're going to focus on. Recharging self-care activities, that would be the first one. The second one is living more connected with ourselves and with other people around us. And the third piece is stress management techniques. So as we can live in those 3 areas, they're actually going to help us feel more connected in our everyday life as well. So we'll dive into the first area of recharging activities. As always, I hope you have a pen and pencil handy. You can press pause if you need to and come back and grab one, or your phone, because I want to really land on some very practical things for each of these sessions, finding 1 or 2 takeaways that you're going to apply in your life today to live a little bit more connected and a little bit more experiential in everyday life. So the 3 areas we're going to be talking about are recharging self-care activities, being able to connect with yourself and others, and the stress management techniques as well. So inside the area of recharging, we all have things that help us to come alive, to feel recharged, and take care of ourselves on a daily basis. The problem is, like most of you, I'm pretty busy. So I don't always do the things every day that I should be doing to help myself recharge and refill or replenish my cup. If you imagine a cup being yourself or embodying your life, just even ask yourself today, what level am I at? Am I at empty? Am I maybe at half full? Am I at full? As you know, with vehicles, every now and again, we have to stop at the gas station and fill up with gas. If you don't fill up with gas, you're going to end up on the side of the road somewhere and you're going to run out of gas and you won't be able to get anywhere. And the key thing is the same principle applies for us as individuals. Sometimes we can tell when our low fuel light is on. We have those warning signs in ourselves, whether we get more grumpy or irritable or having a bit more of a hard time. That's like the low fuel light for the dashboard of your life. And when it comes on, it's important to stop for fuel. If you keep driving through, then you're going to run out of gas and be on the side of the road somewhere. And it's not going to be fun for yourself in terms of your mental and emotional health. So stopping every day to recharge and fill ourselves up is important. Especially this last year or so, I've just found myself so busy, I'm not doing the things that I used to do or that I should be doing to recharge. Especially over the last maybe 6 months, I found even the demands of my everyday life with kids, with family, with work, with everything else going on in the world, just drained me more than usual. So I recognize that I'm not being as intentional about really recharging my cup and filling myself up every day. So I sat down with a pen and paper, actually it was my iPhone, and I decided what are some recharging activities that I just need to do every day in my life. And for some of us, sometimes we might not have access or be able to go to the gym or do some things, but there's things that you can do, whether you have kids, whether you're busy, whether you're at work, right at your house every day. One of the most important ones for myself is music. I find just listening to music picks up my spirits, it recharges and energizes myself. So that's definitely one thing on my list for recharging. A couple other things too. I really find playing with my kids. Now, my kids can be pretty exhausting sometimes too, but when they're in a good mood and they want to read a book together or throw the ball around or play a game, that can be pretty recharging. I grew up on a farm just outside of Spruce Grove, so I like to be in the country. I live in the city now, but both worlds are good for me, and I like to get outdoors. So whether it's just going for a bike ride or walk in the forest near our house, just getting in nature really rejuvenates me and energizes my spirits as well. For some people, they might enjoy taking a hot bath or shower, going for a massage, maybe even watching like one TV show. I always say, for those of you who have Netflix or Disney Plus or Amazon or those other streaming services, there's kind of like a curve of recharging when it comes to watching TV. Watching one episode, especially an episode of a really interesting show that you're watching with a family member that you talk about, can be pretty recharging. After a long day's work, you can kick back and relax and just watch an episode of your favorite show, and it causes you to maybe even think and reflect on life. But there's kind of this curve. The first episode might be recharging, but after that, the more episodes you watch, the less recharging it is, and it actually becomes draining as well. So binge watching TV, pretty draining. Watching one episode, it can actually be pretty recharging. So technology isn't all bad. Of course, scrolling through social media, especially these days, can be very draining with some of the material on there. But being able to stay connected with friends over social media, video call, focus on positive or uplifting posts, those things can be recharging. So there's no hard or fast rules. Technology isn't bad. It's a tool that we need to steward and understand how to use. I can remember last summer, I have a bit more time on my hands in the summer, and at night I'd just be like scrolling at night just before I was going to bed because it's really light out and stuff. And I'm like, man, I was just like scrolling through social media for like half an hour or like an hour. I'm like, that was not recharging. Now I'm like tired and exhausted, but I'm so kind of like just wound up, I can't even fall asleep. So just really being strategic and intentional. Again, life isn't complicated. It's not rocket science. It's about doing simple things really well. So actually scheduling in and carving in that recharge time is important. So step one is writing down a list of activities that you would find to be recharging your daily life. If you need help, reach out to a family, friend, whoever, and be able to even construct a list together. And there's also the internet. They have some great resources and brainstorming on recharging activities. So hopefully you have a list of at least 10 activities. If not, use your resources and develop that list. Now, once you have a list of 5 to 10 activities, it's time to plan how you're going to schedule that into your daily life. You probably don't have an hour to do that every day. I wish I did, but I don't. So maybe it's just 5 minutes. Maybe it's just 10 minutes when the kids go down or when you have a break between work sessions or whatever works for you. But setting your alarm on your phone, pull out your phone right now and actually set that alarm. What are 2 times in the day that you're going to recharge? For me, I don't like waking up too early, but I'll wake up a little bit before I have to go to work and maybe just do some reading or listening to some music, or for some people it might be praying or meditating or something reflective to start the day, journaling as well. Those are some things that I find are helpful just to put in my recharge at the beginning of the day. And that's also how I like to end my day. I find there's so much that's happened during the day. I like to have, 5 or 10 minutes of calm or pause before bed, where I'm just listening to some light, more chill music. And whether it's like reading something or just journaling or just reflecting on my day, that's a really powerful way to recharge. In between that, I kind of intersperse some breaks of listening to music, especially when I get home from work. Like I'm tired, I had a long day, I've got kids, I'm making dinner, all those things. If you're like me, sometimes you might find like just doing the dishes or like chores after dinner is like pretty exhausting. So I throw in some music and I actually get a bit recharged as I'm doing my chores and stuff like that too. So setting that time aside every day is really key for recharging. And the other piece is getting unstuck. So when your mood is low and you're feeling kind of stuck, making a conscious choice to actually get out of your thoughts, get out of your feelings, and do something different. For a lot of people, they might feel stuck where they're just kind of on social media or in their room or just kind of in their own little world. And in those moments, it's kind of, we have a pivot moment, an option where we can stay stuck and just kind of get in this away mode of doing life and drain ourselves further. Or we can say, hey, you know what? This is tough. I'm having a hard time right now. What is something I can do to get myself unstuck and be able to recharge and fill up my cup, so to speak? And that really ties into principle 2 of connecting with self and others. Usually if we live disconnected, we're going to be more drained. But as we learn to live more connected with ourselves, what we're experiencing internally, what we're thinking, what we're feeling, what's going on in our bodies, and if we're living more connected with the people around us, that really, really helps us in just living wholehearted, improving our overall wellness, and really being able to kind of recharge ourselves. So there's these three areas of connecting with yourself, you'll see in your handout here, connecting with others, and limiting disconnection. So practically, like I shared for my recharge time, what is just one time a day you can create some space? I know for a lot of people, even driving home from work. I love music, and I was driving this morning to these sessions for recording, and it was so much fun. I got to listen to my music, I had the tunes cranked, and I was just having a great time. And for me, that was very recharging. And it would also give me a time to just reflect and kind of think about myself and my journey in life. So that was really helpful. So as we look and think about recharging, it naturally leads into connecting with self and others, creating space to connect with ourselves every day, connect with others, and limiting those moments of disconnection too. So as we look in our handout here, connecting with self is the first step. So just being able to kind of create space, connect with yourself. For some people, it might be, maybe they're just taking some time away from the family, taking a shower, taking a bath, just having that rest time away from everyone. For a lot of people, practically it has to be when you're driving home from work. When you're in your car. I was driving with my wife recently, and she said, this is the most relaxing time I've ever had. So as young parents, we've learned to really enjoy drives and create that space to connect with each other, but also to connect with ourselves. I was driving here this morning, listening to my music, and I just really felt like I was connecting with myself, and I was reflecting on the music and just blasting it. I felt there was just insight and perspectives I was getting from my own life and journey. As I shared, I like to create a little bit of space and time at night and before in the morning just to kind of connect and reflect on my life journey. So everyone's different, but it's just carving out those 5 or 10 minutes to really be able to kind of connect with yourself and really just make that continual awareness of your life and your journey. The second piece is connecting with others. So this might be through FaceTime, through walks, through coffee dates, through the people in your home already. But it's really interesting, as life gets busy, we just naturally, we could be around people, but not really be connected to them. So taking even 5 minutes a day to just have a meaningful connection with one of your anchors can be powerful. For my wife and I, we try to sit down on the couch at the exact same time with no phones, no tech, none of that stuff right after we put our kids to bed. We like watching TV shows, we like doing some other stuff at night, but we like to try to take that 5 or 10 minutes first just to connect with ourselves. So I find for me, sometimes when I'm driving, I'll reach out and call a friend or whatever it looks like. But for each of us, just making sure we're intentional every day about living both connected to ourselves and connected to others. I spoke about that disconnection piece too. So just recognizing those things in our lives that are disconnecting. Technology is not bad, but sometimes mindlessly scrolling through social media. I like to play video games sometimes, but too much video games, or whether it be YouTube, TV, whatever just kind of gets us in blah mode or just disconnected mode, or disconnected from ourselves and disconnected from others. Just being aware of it and managing it. Like after a long, hard day's work, sometimes you just need to sit down and watch some TV and chill, right? But just being aware of when that disconnection is kind of sneaking in and doing things to kind of manage that and be more aware of that. And this really ties into the general stress management principles you can see on your handout here. Minimizing stress, healthy boundaries, as we look at some other principles as well. We live in a stressful world, and it seems like the world is not getting less stressful. I think it might be getting more stressful. And the good news is we are powerful people. As powerful people, we have choices. We can choose and decide what stress we're going to allow into our homes, into our own personal lives, and what stress we are going to check and keep at the door. There's many stressors these days that come up on social media or media in general that I am checking at the door. I've had to just dial down on the amount of media and social media I'm exposed to. There's some very positive stories happening in the world. There's many great things going on, and it's important to stay informed and know what's happening. But we really have to be mindful. What are those stress points? What are those areas that might cause us to be a little bit too emotionally involved and actually drain our cup or drain our energy? Those are the types of media and informations that we want to stay away from altogether. So minimizing exposure to stress both externally and also internally. So there's stuff in our daily lives, whether it be stuff at work or with our family or with friends, different areas where maybe things don't have to be as stressful as they are. So this goes back into the 3 principles of reaching out to your supporting cast, sharing your struggles, being able to collaborate and coach on maybe there's a few tweaks that you can make into your daily life to minimize or bring down that stress level. A very practical point would be healthy boundaries, developing strong, healthy emotional boundaries with draining people. You know, in life, we have people who fill us up, and we have drainers. We have people who are givers, who help us in our lives, and we have people who are takers. It's actually important to be in relationship with both types of people. I believe as individuals, we're called to be like a river. You know, there's a slough. I grew up on a farm, and we had a lot of sloughs by our house. Those types of water sources, they take all the water, but they don't give any out. And when you're not giving out water, you actually become stagnant. It's not a healthy place to live. I believe we're designed both to take in life from other people with those givers, with those positive people who are pouring into us, but we're also designed to pour out life to others. So actually having people with healthy boundaries who are takers or who we're filling up is also really important. Of course, there's some people who could be more unhealthy or quote unquote toxic who just really are big burdens and a big drain on us personally. And we have to be walk in wisdom and understand how to have healthy boundaries with those individuals in our lives, and really even knowing what we have grace for as a person. Maybe if you're feeling like your cup is empty, you probably don't have grace for the give or for the drainers or the people that you'd have to pour out to in this season. But maybe if in a different season your cup is more full, you have more grace or capacity to support some of those people. So we have relationships that sometimes can be complicated with family, with friends, with work, in different situations. So being very aware, we kind of have three circles. We'll talk about this more in relational health, but our inner and outer circles. So who do you want to let in to the inner circles of your life? Some really other helpful principles that help us live in the present moment, to live connected, live experientially, or focusing on the positive. Are we going to look at life being half full or half empty in terms of what's happening? Choosing to focus on the positive and practicing gratitude is a really powerful way just to live present. Then there's external and internal expectations. So really understanding what are the unrealistic expectations externally other people have of us, and what are the internal expectations that we put on ourselves. Those two areas just are so powerful because there's a lot of expectations that I put on myself that really prevent me from enjoying life. Instead of trying to be present and enjoy my life, I'm trying to measure up to this bar or these unrealistic expectations I might have for myself in terms of work or relationships or other areas. So knowing what those unrealistic expectations are for yourself or the obligations that other people put on you is very important to beginning to just let some of those go. Very practically, external and internal organization can be really helpful too. Just keeping your external space organized. At my house, it's the kitchen. I love just having the kitchen counters clean. When the kitchen counters are clean, I feel relaxed. I feel like I can breathe. Some of the other house could be messy. It doesn't really bother me too much, but I just like the counters clean. So knowing at your home, what are those game-changing areas that really are important for you to have clean, to feel a sense of maybe peace or relaxation or calm. So focus on that piece, and then the internal organization. So this is the thoughts. Sometimes just like our house can be cluttered with all kinds of stuff, our mind can be very cluttered too. So a very practical exercise I have a lot of people walk through is just drawing a circle. So if you have a pen and paper, great. If not, you can just type these words in your iPhone or use the draw feature. Draw a circle. Inside of the circle, put the word solve. Outside of the circle, put the word surrender. So organizing our thoughts into these two categories, solve or surrender, is helpful. Because if we don't put them in the solve or surrender category, we will spiral. And that is not fun, where our thoughts just mess with us and we just get stuck on all these tangents. So solve is like, sometimes we have thoughts like, I think my car might be low on gas. I need better get gas. Or I think my daughter is low on her medication, or she might need more milk or something like that. It's reminding me to take a practical action to solve something today. Or maybe at work, I'm thinking, I have these 10 emails I need to respond to. I better take action so I can feel more at peace. So sometimes just practically taking action, solving a problem, or doing something can actually really help categorize and release some of that internal clutter in our minds. The other piece is surrender. This is a lot harder to do, much more challenging, but letting go. There's many things that we're thinking about that we actually don't have control over. So as you drew this circle, what's inside your circle is what you do have control over. That's what you can solve and figure out. What's outside of your circle, the things you have to surrender or let go of, you have very little control over. And unfortunately for most of us, we spend time focusing and thinking about things in life that we really can't change. It's like just really exhausting because it's like spinning your tires And it's a waste of time because you really can't help yourself. So really being able to recognize what's in your circle, what is something you can think about and take practical action and do that and actually help yourself. And then what are those things that are outside of your circle that, man, I just don't know what to do with this, but I have to learn how to surrender it, talk to friends, get support, get perspective from other people, reach out to your supporting cast to let things go. The final piece is cognitive flexibility. So focusing on what I can control and letting go of the things I can't control. It really ties into those circles. Sometimes in life, we get stuck, we get rigid, and we're trying to control things and focus on the wrong things. So that idea of cognitive flexibility and learning to go with the flow of life. You know, I wish this morning that it wasn't snowing when we're doing this recording. I didn't have to drive on the snowy roads. But hey, you know what? I'm going to make the best of it. And I'm just going to drive a little slower or just enjoy my drive and enjoy the nice scenery of the snow kind of falling on the trees and things like that. So making the most of whatever life throws your way is really powerful as we learn to be flexible and go with the flow of the things in life. So those are the three main areas in terms of experiential wellness. We got recharging, taking care of yourself, being able to connect with yourself and others, and those stress management techniques. So as you reflect on our content today, hopefully you have written down 1 or 2 growth points in your phone, 1 or 2 areas that you'd really like to hone in on, where you can grow, change, and develop. And as always, I'd encourage you to reach out to one of your anchors. Pick up your phone, send a text now and say, hey, you know what? I'd really like to work on recharging self-care activities. Maybe if you live with someone, that's something you could talk to them about and say, let's create a space 10 minutes a day where we're just recharging with ourselves and connecting with each other. In your own personal time and journal, take out your phone, set that timer of when you're going to create space to recharge and connect with yourself. And of those stress management techniques, pick 1 or 2 that you're going to dial in on. Maybe it's minimizing your exposure to stress. Maybe there's healthy boundaries that you have to put up. Focusing more on the positive, those expectations, or that organization piece. Whatever it might be, let's land on 2 or 3 practical things that you're going to take away from this session and apply to your life this week. And I encourage you, in a week's time from now, come back, review your phone, see what you've written down, ask yourself, and talk with one other person how that's going as well. I believe in you. You totally got this. You can do it. Remember this. Big things happen when you take one small step.
Thank you for watching session 1 of this series on experiential wellness. Be sure to subscribe to our channel as we'll have a new video coming out every week. And next week, Joel is going to be talking about physical wellness, so you don't want to miss it.